Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel and yet another video. Today's video is entitled 5 More Things That Make You a Great Project Manager. The previous video touched on 5 qualities that make one a great project manager, and so today's one was really easy. I want to get to like 10, a nice round figure of qualities that make someone a great project manager. And doing a little bit of a recap on the previous video, we talked about good project managers gravitating towards structure and creating structure. We also talked about how good project managers embrace they're adaptable and flexible. And those two at face value might look like they are at counter purpose or conflicting. However, within projects you find you need the structure, but then again, no well-laid plans ever execute per plan, and therefore you need to be able to adapt and be flexible and tweak things as you go along. So the first quality that we're going to camp on today is very similar to the adaptability and flexibility quality, and it's being comfortable with ambiguity. Now, ambiguity means things are obscure or they're not very clear, and that is something that you're going to bump into quite a bit within projects. So you're not very clear about the path forward. You've been executing really beautifully, and then you hit this pocket of obscurity, and you're trying to figure out, how do we progress? What solution should we really implement here? Now, good project managers embrace that phase that they're in. They don't necessarily love it, because it doesn't always feel comfortable, but they figure that, let's embrace this ambiguity. It doesn't mean our project is necessarily in jeopardy, but what they don't do is then just, kind of like accept it and do nothing about it. They actively try to figure out, and by they I mean them and their teams, they actively try to figure out how to get out of that ambiguous state into a state of more clarity. How do they shoot towards that little speck of light at the end of the tunnel, if there is one? If there isn't, how do they find that light at the end of the tunnel? So that's what project managers, good project managers do. They are comfortable with ambiguity, but they actively work to get out of that state of ambiguity into a state of clarity. So that's quality number 6 in total, and the first one for today. The next quality of good project managers is that they foster accountability. Now, accountability is that word which, it's a beautiful thing, I feel like, but sometimes when people hear accountability, they feel you're being held to account, you're being punished, you're being put on the spot, and that's not what it is about. I feel like accountability is this beautiful thing that when each one of us holds themselves accountable for what it is that we're supposed to deliver on, then we are all successful, right? So fostering accountability, they must not be involved in everything. So every team member has got or should have something that they are accountable, either as an individual or as part of a team. And what the project manager should be driving for is that each team is accountable. So you'll find some teams where, where you're not pushing for accountability as a project manager, you get pulled into all sorts of things. You're part of every little meeting. You're part of every brainstorm session. A team that is not very mature accountability-wise might want to work by committee a lot, and you find that it fatigues other team members and even you yourself as a project manager. So you need to be able to push for accountability without breaking the team, obviously. Where you see that the team needs some kind of support to mature to a certain capability, then help them along, but really put them on the spot in a nice way, so that they know that they're accountable and they really should be executing independently to give the deliverables that they're supposed to. So that's fostering accountability. And then the next quality is resisting the impossible expectation to know everything. And again, this kind of comes hand in hand with teams that are not very mature with accountability. They're probably not also mature with independence, and they expect the project manager to be weighing in on every tiny little thing. When you see that happening, you need to be able to coach the team to move more towards, away from that over dependence on the project manager, and have everybody realize that your role is not to give people instructions about what it is that they should be doing. You've got a group of subject matter experts that are experts in their own areas, and what they have to do is to bring their awesomeness to the table and execute. And you are there to guide and to coach and to track and to ask questions that help the team to move forward, and that help the team to extract themselves when they get stuck in a rut. But you're not there to know everything. That human being has not been created yet, as far as I know, that knows everything. So resist that temptation, because you are not that person. You should not be that person. Right, so I think we've drilled into that to quite a bit of detail. The fourth quality is knowing when to adopt the helicopter view and when to adopt the tractor view. And I couldn't resist using those. A colleague I worked with years back used to use those words, like the helicopter view is like your 1,000-foot view, and then your tractor view is like in the weeds, where you're actually tactile with things that are going on within the project. And basically it's to know when you should adopt the big picture view versus going into detail. Generally, the project manager should not really be going into the weeds. The team really goes into the weeds in their respective areas. They should maintain a healthy view above the detail, just so that they can keep the project moving. But this quality, what it says is, there are times when you really have to delve in, with the team and be like going to the nitty-gritties, especially when things are not going as expected. And there are times when you need to rise up and be looking at what is the goal of this project? What are we shooting for strategy-wise? And that's when you need to rise to that level. So being able to switch between those, just like you need to be able to figure out when to be structured and when to be more adaptive and flexible. This also applies to the same concept applies to being able to adopt the big picture view or the detailed view. Then the very last quality, and I might spend a little bit more time on this one here, is good project managers have high emotional intelligence. Now, IQ, intellectual quotient, is like available a dime a dozen. Like if you're in a corporate setting, you're probably among really super smart people IQ wise. What you would find a little bit, I don't want to use lacking, but what is probably not as commonplace as IQ is EQ, the emotional quotient. And for project managers, this is really important. And, being able to know where the team is emotionally. Let's take a very clear example where maybe things are not going according to plan and everyone, is at their wits' end, tensions are rife and all of that. A good project manager keeps a cool head when everyone else is not. And that takes a lot of emotional maturity, a lot of emotional intelligence to be able to be like, on the inside I'm imploding, but on the outside I really need to keep my cool because I'm the leader here. The team is relying on my calmness to move forward. A good EQ helps you to figure out different approaches to work with different people. You will know, anyone who's been in a corporate setting or any work setting for more than 2 seconds knows that there are people with different emotional dispensation, people who approach problems in different ways. And as a project manager, you need to figure out how to deal with different personalities. And a person might present with a different personality even on any given day. So you need to figure out how to engage with those individuals. I talked about this already, support versus accountability. So when it is that you realize that somebody just needs your support to be able to achieve a certain goal, and when they're actually just not being accountable and independent, and they need to step up. Know when to dig your heels in and when to relent. So there are times when you really need to be like, I feel so strongly about this and I'm digging my heels on this. And then there are some times when you need to relent and be like, okay, this thing is important, but it's not important for us to really kind of like hash it out, and maybe it starts to impact the team dynamic. So you need to be able to figure out which of those scenarios is which and work accordingly. Again, not all battles are worth fighting, so if it's a little battle, maybe just leave it and let it slide. If it's something that's really, really important, then by all means fight for it. So that brings us to the 5 qualities that I felt I wanted to share with you all today. And what this is building up to is the next video, which the working title is how do you get started on a career in project management. So I try to build up the qualities so you can have a checklist that says this looks like it could be me, and then some practicalities about how do you actually get started. Are there qualifications that are prerequisites? Is there work experience that's a prerequisite for you to be a project manager? So we'll delve into that in the next video. And then a teaser for the video after that is I'm going to be sharing my own personal story about how I entered the field of project management. So some 2 videos to look forward to over the next several weeks. And on that, I'm going to wrap up today's video and wish you all a very good week. Thanks, everyone. Take care.